Hey guys, it's Charles here again. Thanks for coming back to another educational series on how to invest in real estate. This week we're going to talk about how to rent out your unit. So if you have followed my journey, you have come down to this step. That means you already have your project. You've gone through the renovation, either cosmetic or you added a secondary suite. And now comes the most crucial part, which is finding your customer. Your tenant is your customer who will be paying down that debt that you have with your bank on your behalf again and again every single month. So they're a crucial part of making our investment success. So when it comes to filling your property, there's really two options. And again, in this video, we're talking about from a landlord point of view. If you are a tenant, then you can skip this video. The two options are you can either do it yourself or you can hire a realtor. Hopefully the realtor who got you the project at first, right? There are pros and cons for both, but if I was an investor beginning out, I would say try to do it yourself with the coaching of the realtor, right? The realtor can give you the advice and what to do, but you do the work yourself. You can learn a lot about what goes on behind the scenes so that you can repeat this the process when it comes to filling your tenant, let's say 2-3 years down the road again. Or if you are very busy and you don't want to deal with this, you can hire a realtor or a property manager to do this for you. Some of the advantages are for a realtor, they can have more exposure. So your listing can be seen on MLS so that all the other real estate agents in your market can also see your property and they can bring interested tenants come view and give you an offer. Also, a realtor can help you because especially if you're brand new, you don't have all the legal clauses to protect you. So maybe if you just want the legal clauses, that could be beneficial for you. And also, a realtor who specializes in investments property, they usually have experience screening tenants, right? So screening tenants, as we will discuss later on, is crucial when it comes to finding the right tenants, especially in these sub markets, because the tenants may not be the same qualification as what you'll find in, let's say, Toronto downtown, right? The disadvantage is that there's going to be a cost. For a landlord, it's usually about 1 month's worth of rent. So you have to see if that's worth for you in exchange for their expertise and their time. Okay, so if you're gonna go down the road of doing it yourself, first thing is first, you have to generate interest, right? We have to get eyes on the property. So it becomes all about marketing, right? One of the trick that a lot of people miss is the yard sign. If you have a property, it's a little bit more difficult for a condo, but if you have a detached or semi or townhome, it's very easy to put a yard sign, right? And oftentimes the neighbor who are walking their dogs might see the sign and be like, hey, you know what? I love this neighborhood. I live here and I have a friend, or maybe my daughter or my son wants to move into the neighborhood. So they'll call, right? Yard sign is very surprising, but it works very well. Next will be Kijiji or Craigslist, right? Post it on there. If you go down the free route, right, you have to continually refresh so that your listing always gets seen at the top. It is more active, or you can do a paid ad. Facebook Marketplace, this is becoming very, very popular, right? I actually feel like right now Facebook Marketplace works more or as effective as Kijiji or Craigslist. So definitely post it on there. The content is exactly the same, right? But your platform is different. And all the other social media, post it on your social media stories. Share it all to your friends that you have a unit coming up. You never know who's in need for clean and safe housing, right? And if you are going with the realtor, make sure it's on the MLS. Right? And next will be screening. So once you have market, people are going to reach out to you, right? They're going to ask, hey, I'm interested. Hey, can I book a viewing? There's going to be all sorts of different variation of I'm interested. So you have to really have a system in place to filter it down. One technique that I use is I create a Google form. So anybody who reaches out to me, I just send them to a link, the Google form, and it will have 5 different simple questions. Your salary range, your credit range, are you employed or not, self-employed, right? How many people will be staying in the house, stuff like that. Very, very simple. And what they do is that after they fill in the form, it's gonna populate me an Excel sheet um, that has all the informations accumulated so that I can just filter in terms of salary range or credit or how many people stay in home, if they have pets or not pets. And then if I find any candidates that are interested, I give them a call, right? That way, if you get, let's say, I don't know, 50 people interested, you can narrow down very, very quickly and only call the few that you're interested. And next would be holding showings. So from the ones that you think that are gonna be a fit, then you have to get them into the house, right? That is the next challenge. And you have to do this as soon as possible because the good tenants, they will be scooped up by other landlords very, very quickly, right? And when you get them to the property, try to create an auction style environment. So I like to schedule them 15 minutes apart so that they come in to see the other party just about to leave. It really creates a sense of urgency, right? And have them sign in, verify their information, and if they are a really good tenant, you think they're really suited for this property, try to get the deposit on site, right? Like right there, right? That way they have some skin in the game, right? Before you send them back for all the application and stuff. So now that you have done that, the next part will be you have to do the thorough screening. Now this is your detective sense coming out. First will be you can use online services. So if you want to rely on one source that can accumulate everything for you and spit out a report, Neighborly is a very, very good one. I have used this many times, and it will give you a summarized report and a score based on all the different parameters that you would want to know as a landlord, right? And also, if you want to go one step further, there's something called a Rentify. Rentify is a newer company that is emerging now. They can actually go in and check their bank account. So if they say they're getting paid on a bi-weekly basis, let's say $1,800, you can check using Rentify exactly if the $1,800 is coming into that bank account. Of course, you're gonna have some pushbacks from the tenants. Generally, I find the older crowds are gonna say no to this, but if you can find a tenant who is willing to allow you to do a bank check, then for sure get this done. The cost is so worth it. The next would be the traditional form, right? There's a rental application form that I have. If you ask any realtor in Ontario, we have a standard form. You can get them to fill it out. You need their recent pay stubs, so 2 recent pay stubs, full credit report, preferably from Equifax, right? And employment letter to verify their title as well as how much they make per year, and make sure call the company and do the reference checks. Reference checks, you can check their past landlords or past 2 landlords, and you can check with their supervisor or boss or their direct reports, right? Make sure you have those calls. So once you've done all that and you have a very good and fuzzy feeling about who you're gonna go with, the next will be to agree on the lease, right? If the tenant is coming from my MLS, so another realtor brought over the client, then you need to have the agreement to lease, and you need to have the Ontario standard lease. If it's a private deal, you just post it on Kijiji or Facebook, then you only need an Ontario lease, right? And when you're doing the lease, there's certain things that you have to cover, right? This is where if you're working with a realtor, maybe it's gonna make your life a little bit easier because all the clauses will be there. But if you're doing it yourself, make sure you cover things like key deposits. What if there's damages, minor and major damages, right? Stuff related to cannabis use, right? Commercial activities such as Airbnbs, short-term lease, sublets, right? Insurance, tenant insurance is another huge one. Right, you have to put in there so that they're covered for their own content in case of fire or water. Payment terms, how are they gonna pay? E-transfer or posted checks? Pets are allowed, and who's paying for the utilities, right? These are just some common stuff that you have to have it addressed. But for more detail, definitely speak to a realtor. So in conclusion, right, in Ontario, the Residential Tenancy Act is heavily skewed toward tenants, right? Basically, even if you're like the best, the greatest landlord, the law is favoring the tenants. So as a landlord, we must protect ourselves by first properly screening the tenants. That is, I would say, 80% of the work, right? If you properly screen the tenants, your life is gonna be easier. And second, having the proper clause and all the legal wording in the lease, right? That is the rest of the 20%, right? And a great property can turn quickly horrible experience if leased to the wrong tenant, right? So again, this law is skewed towards the tenant. And if that happens, you can decide to go through the eviction process yourself, or you can hire a paralegal to help you get out of the situation. But even though, like I'm hearing, like it can take 6 to 12 months to evict a problematic tenant, even if you follow all the processes. And with the COVID situation, it's not helping as well because they're short-staffed. But one thing I just want you to take away is that relationships are key for success. Tenants also require caring and relationships. So as a landlord, it's not just the property. You have to check up on them. You have to make sure their concerns are addressed in a timely manner. And even if you have the best property and the best the leases in place, if your relationship with your tenant goes the wrong way, then things could get sour very quickly. Okay, so if you enjoy this kind of content, great. If you can go to charlie.com, I'm giving away a free guide on how an overworked aerospace engineer escaped the salaryman life. This is exactly what I went through. It's my story and how I escaped and what I did consistently to get me where I am. So if you're interested in that, go to charlie.com, grab a copy. If you can subscribe to this channel, that'll be great. See you on the next video.